Hello and welcome to episode 108 of Third and Wrong. I'm your co-host Stephen Bolin, and joined as always by Zach and Poker Oz over here. And we have our special guest. For those that are familiar, Braydon Tomac joined us on episode 59. Are You Mocking Me? I believe he named that one. And he's also behind the articles of The Patriot Way, Panthers Hunt, and Jets Flight Path, a couple rebuilding articles there that he contributed to the amateur agency. You can go check those out on our site. Tomac is here to join us again for our NFL mock draft special. How are things, my friend, out of Regina, Saskatchewan? We are fired up to have you.
I'm pretty excited to be on. It's always good to see you guys. I miss the days we started this thing. It was pretty fun, and I'm just glad to be back on.
Awesome, man. Even going before that, back at the MHC Messnat College study booths, where we weren't studying for our globalization test, we were debating about Sam Bradford and Brock Osweiler, to name a few.
And why Terrell Pryor was a great wide receiver.
Better than Doug Baldwin, right, Zach?
better than Doug Baldwin.
Oh, we even got stone-faced Aussie to laugh there with his shades on.
I had this whole act played out in my mind because it's 420. It's no reference to 420, Steve.
Oh, well, it's not going to be 420 when they're listening to this, though.
No, but I mean it is now. So there's a whole bit there, but
well,
it's over.
That's okay.
Welcome, Tomac. I'm happy you're here for the record.
All right. So this episode, how it works is this mock draft. Is each of us were randomly assigned a team, and we had our spreadsheet. We went in and put our picks, and what that looks like is we're just going to go through, and it's a little mix of what we think is going to happen, and maybe also what we do ourselves. It's a no trade mock draft, but we'll talk about potential teams that might trade as well. And so buckle up. If you're listening to this while driving, definitely buckle up. If you're sitting at home and smoking, just like Ozzy recommends, just lay back, close your eyes, and let our soothing voices just kind of glide you through this journey of the NFL draft. So we're going to start off here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I wish I had the button for like that diddling, ding, ding, but that's not going to suffice.
You got to do that for all 32 picks.
We're going to all 32 picks. All right, bet we'll do it. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, first overall pick, I have them taking Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this mock yet, but yeah.
Why?
Apparently no other quarterback could compare to his skill set and size, 6'6", 220, and considered the best prospect since Andrew Luck. And if this doesn't pan out, I have them taking Zach Foth out of Medicine at College.
Hey,
another really good prospect there, but a couple character concerns, a
out of shape.
A couple bullying scandals from MHC. I can attest to that. So not well liked by instructors or coaches, but has the talent. His talent always overshadowed that. But if that doesn't work, we got Trevor Lawrence going first overall. So any disagreements there, fellas, with Trevor Lawrence going first overall?
Honestly,
I think that's on point.
Justin Fields not going number one is a travesty.
Oh, there's spending too much time on Twitter. Okay. Number 2, the New York Jets. Diddling, diddling, ding, ding.
And I won't take too long on this one, as we all know where this one's going now. They're going to be looking at Zack Wilson, quarterback, BYU, bringing in the Cowboy that they didn't have with Sam Darnold, bringing in the new head coach, the new regime, bringing in their quarterback of the future. Guy can throw well from different angles, has great escapability, brings a lot of the things that Darnold didn't. And I think that's what they want to build around. So we'll keep it quick. Zack Wilson, BYU, pick 2.
BYU. Didn't one of our instructors go to BYU, or am I imagining that, Zach, in Lethbridge?
Murray Lindsay. I don't know.
No, just name drops the professor. All right, Murray, if you're listening to this,
shout out to Murray.
Shout out to Murray.
Yeah.
Number 3, we have the San Francisco 49ers, who acquired this pick via the Miami Dolphins, who acquired that pick via the Houston Texans. So a full circle of life there. And we have Braydon Tomac assigned to this pick. Tomac, where are the 49ers going here? This is probably one that everyone can't seem to figure out. Oh, sorry, one sec. Ding, 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 ding.
And this isn't where I would go with the pick, but the 49ers are going to select Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. He's a guy that can come in and run that system fairly well. If he goes to the 49ers, I think he's the most likely of all quarterbacks to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I was nodding in agreement, and then I just didn't understand what the words that just came out of your mouth. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I think he's set up for the most success out of any quarterback here. He fits the system just brilliantly. He's got to get the mental side of the game down, but Kyle Shanahan can dumb down the offenses, and I shouldn't say dumb down. I mean, it's an NFL offense still, but
simplify.
Simplify, yes. But Mac Jones can make all those throws and let the run game take charge.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, why not Justin Fields in your mind? And I agree, they could go Mac Jones, and I could see this happening. In fact, I do see it happening. But what, in your mind, what is Kyle Shanahan seeing in Mac Jones that he maybe wouldn't want in Fields?
Now, personally, I would be taking Justin Fields 100% of the way. He's my QB2 in the draft. But just looking at, whose pro day was attended on day one, it was Alabama and OSU on the same day. 49ers GM as well as Coach Kyle Shanahan both went to Alabama's pro day over Justin Fields. There's been lots of reports with Mac Jones landing to the 49ers. So I'm sticking with the Mac Jones pick.
All right.
Don't love it, but I totally see what you're saying, Tomac.
If it comes to fruition, Offensive Rookie of the Year, clip it.
Okay, hold on. And on that
I
note,
don't disagree, actually, because Steve and Zach hate on Jimmy G, but he took them to a Super Bowl. And yes, I know he only threw 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. Steve, shut up. But Mac Jones, of the teams picking in the top 3, the 49ers are certainly not a rebuilding team. So and Offensive Rookie of the Year tends to go to lean on the quarterback. So I don't think that it's that far-fetched at all.
Speaking of Jimmy G, though, you're saying he rides the bench then, Tomac? They don't redshirt Mac Jones if he's obviously in contention for Rookie of the Year, in your opinion?
I think once he has a bad game, which is probably going to be pretty early in the season due to his inconsistency, fans will automatically be on the team's back. And, I think the team's just going to have to pull the plug on Jimmy G, considering they just moved an arm and a leg for the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
Fair enough.
It's baffling the haul that you trade up for a quarterback for an unproven prospect, and a similar haul might have gotten you a Russell Wilson if he wasn't in the same division. That's just baffling to me, but
craziness.
There's only one quarterback I think that could have a better situation than him, and we'll find that later in the draft.
Sneak peek.
So anyone who thought about turning this off after me doing the sounds, you now have a reason to stick around. So let's move on then to pick number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like I'm giving you guys too much secondhand embarrassment by doing the sound, so I'm just going to stop. So Ozzy, with the Atlanta Falcons, what's going on with that pick? A lot of potential. Matt Ryan's future kind of up in the air. He's getting old. What are they doing?
Yeah, lots of people want them or suspect they'll go quarterback because they probably won't get up to a pick this high down in the foreseeable future. But I don't necessarily see it the same way. I think that you shouldn't be planning 2 years or 3 years down the line when you've got so much money tied up at quarterback. So I would trade this pick. I think we're all in agreement. If they don't go quarterback, they should probably trade the pick. One might argue Kyle Pitts, but they're already loaded at those types of skill positions. So I don't see. I get that there's something to be said about drafting maybe the best offensive player available, but I think that what they should be doing is trading. And then because this is a no trade mock, I will cut to the chase. I think that they have been showing signs of wanting to address pass rush. And with that being said, I think that they go Owusu-Koramoah, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Hopefully that's right. And he's actually listed as a linebacker and safety for those who don't know this person. And until this this mock draft, I'm sure Steve didn't even know who this guy was. He was like, who the hell's getting taken 4th overall?
Yeah.
And the reason why I put him here and say he adds to the pass rush is he really is used as kind of like almost like a Jamal Adams type, where he's more of a pass rusher than he is a safety. And he's kind of in that awkward size where you might not find him as a linebacker, but I don't know, he could be a safety, he could be a linebacker, who knows? But I think that there's a really good fit here. So he had 24 and a half tackles for a loss over his 2 years with Notre Dame, 7 sacks. I think that really adds to a team that really was desperate at pass rush last year. They signed Dante Fowler Jr. this past offseason, trying to bolster that pass rush. I don't know how much I trust his resurgence of a career since he was playing alongside Aaron Donald for 2 years. And now he doesn't really have that. So I think that the fit here is really good with Dean Pease, I believe, is the defensive coordinator in Atlanta. And he's worked with some really incredible linebackers in his day. And I think that I trust, if they don't trade down here, to address a pretty big need in a position that their defensive coordinator has historically done well with.
I like that, Ozzy. I think they address a need there. I'm not sure, obviously, they would take him at 4, but you're obviously saying trade first is likely the most biggest candidate. What's a team that would maybe make that jump to 4 to take, like, say, a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance? I mean, the Bears obviously seemed very willing to correct their quarterback errors of the past and that haul for Russell Wilson, but that was a proven entity. And others have pointed to the Washington football team. Anyone else, or do you think it's up to those two?
I see a jersey in this chat that could be making the move up to 4, actually.
Ooh.
That green, I'm just kidding, the Denver Broncos. And for those listening, Steve's wearing a green Seahawks jersey, so it's going to be a joke. But Tomac's wearing a Peyton Manning jersey. I think the Broncos are the team to move up. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion if I'm being kind of not so bold.
There we
go. One can hope.
One can hope. All right, number 5,
Justin Fields.
The Cincinnati Bengals unveiled their new uniforms, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. I think they did a great job getting rid of all the extra stuff that was going around.
Protect Joe Burrow if he's going to wear all white.
Much better. I hope that translates well to the actual thing there. But all right, I have really high quality production here. We have at number 5, the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them taking Penei Sewell, whose name I believe I'm pronouncing correctly now. This is another kind of mainstream pick I've seen in a lot of mocks, but I'm a little hesitant on it because I've been reading that their offensive coordinator really wants to see Jonah Williams kind of fulfill his potential at left tackle, and they don't really want to necessarily see him slide to guard. And they just signed the 32 or 33-year-old Riley Reif at right tackle, who did say he'd be willing to slide to guard, but he hasn't played there since college. So a lot of people are linking Jamar Chase to this position, Burrow's former teammate at LSU. But in my opinion, I think they got to do everything, like Tomac was alluding to before the pick, to shore up this offensive line. And whether that means moving Jonah Williams to guard or Riley Reif to guard and having Sewell play either left or right tackle, you got to bolster that line up front to protect Burrow. And they already boast great options such as T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, I think I got his first name right, to kind of for his weapons there, and Joe Mixon if he could ever stay healthy. But do you guys see it differently? Do you think they're going wide receiver, or if you had to put a percentage on it, which way do you think you're going? Zach, I'm curious as to your thoughts. They're a division foe of yours.
No, I would prefer them to go receiver so the Browns could eat every single time they play them. But I think this is the smart way to go. You already have the weapons, as you alluded to, for Joe Burrow. Now it's getting that guy protected. You don't want to see his leg cramp up like it did last year.
God, that was awful.
That was brutal, man. It really sucked to see in a player's first year. So I think you hit this perfectly. I think this is a really good move for Cincinnati, unfortunately.
You could be drafting a Joe Thomas like tackle in Penei Sewell. Like, I just don't understand how you pass that up to protect Joe Burrow.
His NFL comparison is Trent Williams. So, I mean, if that gives you any kind of idea, and he's only 20 years old, so plenty of room to improve on some areas. And a lot of people are like, well, what about the LSU connection? Well, I saw some other mocks referring to maybe them drafting Terrace Marshall Jr., who stands 6'2", maybe in the second or third round, depending how far he falls. Kind of profiles as a Z receiver, but can move into the slot. So a versatile weapon. They can add that nose burrow and is familiar with them, but not necessarily Jamar Chase, but it's another connection. So, or they can flip it. They could take Jamar Chase and it's a tackle deep draft as well. Maybe they take a tackle in the second round, but I think it'd be silly to pass up Sewell at this juncture. So we'll move on to pick number 6, the Miami Dolphins, courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach, who are these Eagles taking? Remember, we have Ian on the amateur agency here, who is an Eagles fan, and Tristan, a good friend of ours, who's also an Eagles fan here. Or yeah, they traded the pick. Never mind. So I'm going to stop talking. We'll get to them after. I don't know why I was talking Philly. Who are the Dolphins
because
taking?
They traded.
Yeah,
they traded it. I got you. No, with the 6th pick, I have the Dolphins. Because the Bengals didn't pick him, I'm actually getting the Dolphins to take Jamar Chase, the best wide receiver in this class. Looking at this, it could have went to Kyle Pitts as well. I love him. And actually, a lot of people have him ranked a lot higher. But, for keeping it fun, we're going to give the Dolphins another weapon for Tua, as they are trying to give him the best situation to win. We have Gesicki as a tight end, Devontae Parker, and they just signed Will Fuller as well, who has been inconsistent on being on the field, but when he is on the field, he is quite good. I think Jamar Chase is a special talent here. You're giving someone who plays well against physicality against corners. When a corner is up close, getting physical, he knows how to play off it, but he also knows how to create space downfield while also being physical. I think this is perfect for him. It's going to give Tua all the tools he needs to succeed, and Dolphins build an even deeper wide receiver room.
No arguments here. A couple people think maybe Pitts there. It depends what kind of offense they want to run. If you obviously already have Gesicki, but I'm all on board with this one.
Perfect. Number 7.
Fellas? Yeah, number 7. I was gonna say we're leaving the door open. Anyone want to come in? We have the Detroit Lions, led by Tomac on the pick here. Tomac, there's a couple directions they can go. Their defense is hurting. Obviously need some weapons for Jared Goff. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, we need some guys to bite knees on this team.
That's right.
Get that team a knee biter.
Yeah, get this team a knee biter. I've got them taking wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Just a real deep threat for that team. They lost Kenny Golladay, instant kind of replacement for them. Jared Goff needs someone to throw to.
His comparison is Tyreek Hill, so that's quite impressive. Struggles a bit with body catches, but can take the top off of defense. So I think, that'd be a great. If Jared Goff can throw that far, then that's good news for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
go ahead, Tomac. Sorry.
Okay. Likely they're gonna suck. So don't rush to the quarterback right now. Get the pieces around it, and then go worry about the quarterback next year or something. Mm-hmm. It's a special wide receiver talent. The top 4 guys. So just go get one for down the road if Goff isn't the long-term solution.
Hell yeah. It's funny. I'm happy you went first because I don't have anything insightful here. Mine was completely, I like when you have a wide receiver who's under 5'11", they're like 5'10" or lower, and 180 pounds or whatever he is. They always compare him to Tyreek Hill. Is he fast and small? He's Tyreek Hill.
He's Tyreek Hill.
It happens.
Seriously.
It happens every time.
Before that, it was Deshaun Jackson.
That's right. Literally.
Yeah. Literally.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Or Henry Ruggs, because he was the first guy where I was like, wow, Tyreek Hill, that's quite the bold comparison. But Henry Ruggs has done not really much at all in Las Vegas.
I actually think Jalen Waddle would be a good comparison to Henry Ruggs more than Tyreek Hill. It's a different kind of speed. Tyreek Hill can not only run straight extremely fast, but he can all of a sudden cut on a dime. Where Henry Ruggs, he can run extremely fast on a straight line, and he can cut extremely quick. Don't get me wrong, but he cannot turn like Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yeah. Not many people can.
No, God, no.
We have number 8, the Carolina Panthers, who just made that trade for Sam Darnold, one that Ozzy and I were on opposite ends of, actually. If it was up to me, they'd be taking a quarterback here, but they seem to have shored up their quarterback room for at least a couple of years now. Ozzy, who are the Carolina Panthers taking with the 8th selection?
It's funny. I think today the Lions and the Panthers just came out, or it was reported that both of them could be looking to trade back in these spots. So this is kind of the money spot. But if Rashawn Slater's here, I don't see how the Panthers could pass him up. I think that if they can draft him or Sewell, if Sewell were to fall, I think it's an A+ draft for them. They need to get Sam Darnold some help. He's been sacked over 30 times in each of his first 3 seasons. You've already got all of the talent on offense. Last year they drafted, and even the year before that, they drafted heavily on defense. So I really think that if they can get a solid offensive tackle, then there's no way that you can lose with this pick.
I like it. I don't have any complaints. If they're going all in on Darnold, then you best protect him and to avoid the same pitfalls he had in New York. So any opposition to that, guys? Or do you see it going anywhere else?
No, I love this pick. I mean,
all right, cool. All right, at number 9, we have the Denver Broncos. And, in this no trade mock, it's worked out all too perfectly for them. But again, as we alluded to, the Broncos might need to be a little more aggressive in order to land this franchise quarterback. Justin Fields will be a Denver Bronco in this mock draft here. He's NFL comparison was Dak Prescott, actually, which I kind of liked. Throws from a firm base. The criticism that he only is a 1-read quarterback is far overblown. Tomac was telling us a stat before we started recording that he's actually one of the highest percentages of throwing to his second or third read, or has one of the highest completion percentages to a second and third read. Correct me on that, Tomac, after, but struggles a bit against the blitz, especially interior pressure, but he does have the legs to evade pressure. And according to PFF, only 18 turnover worthy plays in his college career, which I believe is pretty good. So Tomac, do you want to correct me on that stat? And from the Broncos fan perspective, how fired up would you be to get Justin Fields, and what would that competition look like in camp with Drew Lock?
Oh boy, you're teasing me, Steve. You're really teasing me over there from Calgary. But so that stat, first off, it's PFF graded all the quarterbacks on every kind of throw they make. And after the first read throw, Justin Fields is the highest graded quarterback out of any quarterback prospect in the class. Now, I don't necessarily know where that narrative came from, where he can't get past the first read, but the analytics don't lie. PFF isn't God, but that is one stat I'm definitely going to agree with. Now, if Justin Fields falls to Denver, I definitely think we take him, but unfortunately, I don't think we trade up for him. Simply because Patton, it's his first year as a GM. I don't think he's going to get too aggressive with his future draft capital. They're pretty high on Drew Lock. Drew Lock, I mean, he was the deal breaker for us not trading for Drew Stafford, Matthew Stafford. It came down to Drew Lock being a part of the deal, and we just said no. So Denver is pretty high on him, but Justin Fields is a day one. He's going to be better than Drew Lock, whereas any other quarterback other than, of course, Zack Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, which you have no hopes of getting. Are they really day one better than Drew Lock? Likely not. So I think this is really the only quarterback that goes to Denver, and also a quarterback who's going to thrive in Denver. I mean, look at all those weapons. We finally have a great O-line. Juwan James is finally healthy. It's a real great offense. So
I love it. And in typical Denver fashion, could you see them going defense here if Fields is off the board and they're not going to be aggressive with that capital?
Yeah. If Fields is off the board, I 100% think we either go linebacker or corner. I would kind of hope we went edge, but yeah.
Awesome.
Have you ever heard of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah by chance?
I'm not going to give you my real thoughts on Jeremiah Owusu.
He's quite known around these parts. We have at the 10th pick, the Dallas Cowboys. So Jerry World will be rocking and rolling, and Jerry's going to be ready to ready to throw his draft board out the window and make the pick he sees fit, or maybe he'll have to get physically restrained from selecting Johnny Manziel like he did in 2014. But Zach, how are the Cowboys addressing their needs at the 10th overall pick here?
Yeah, so we're gonna play in the world where he gets restrained. Everyone's holding him down in his chair, and he's like trying to get out, trying to draft Pitts. But that's not that's what's going to happen this go around. And we're gonna look at drafting Patrick Surtain II. His father played in the NFL, actually, I think for Miami, if I recall correctly. However, Patrick Surtain II is much larger. He would fall under thick boy hour for the cornerbacks, standing 6'2", 205 pounds, and he looks big. If you look at him, he looks like a big physical guy, and he plays that way as well. Very technical, knows the game of football. Obviously, growing up with a father who played in the NFL, that definitely helps there. His one weakness is speed. However, we've seen guys like Richard Sherman play very, very well in the NFL. I'm not saying he's a slow guy, but, he's not known for his speed. So I think this is a really, really good pick for them, because he'll also be playing from his former teammate, Trevon Diggs, at the other side for corner. So, this gives the Cowboys a really smart pick here, and to build up that defense that really struggled last year. They have all the fits on offense. We could also look at potentially building some depth on that offensive line, or building up, filling some of those spots that are becoming vacant. But I think they go here and shore up some of that back end on defense.
I like it. I think that's a sound pick, and I'd be shocked if they went elsewhere, but sometimes Jerry can surprise us.
Yeah.
Number 11, NFC East foe, the New York Giants, will be looking to make a splash. Tomac, are they going to try to surround Daniel Jones with more talent, or are they going to try to shore up that defense?
So this is actually another pick that's supposedly on the trade block currently, but I have them taking my edge number 1 in the draft, Azeez Ojulari, Georgia edge defender. Comparison from PFF is Yannick Ngakoue. He's a just dominant edge rusher. Played 3-4 all 3 seasons long at Georgia. Had an average PFF grade of above 80. His final season, a PFF grade of 90. Only 2 other edge players that have done that. One being Von Miller. On 375 snaps, 193 came off the edge. He had 20 hurries, another 8 hits, and another 9 sacks to add on that. So guy can just get to the quarterback unbelievably well. And as well, he stops the run extremely well. I mean, he had a great game versus Alabama where he just threw Alex Leatherwood on the ground multiple times, stopping Najee Harris. And I mean, that's no small feat. That is just a game you have to watch if you want to see some unreal edge play.
Awesome. I think they could probably easily go that route too. You have Micah Parsons as a backup there. I think their defense needs a little more juice to it. They had some big moments last year, but if they can be consistently great, and then obviously if Daniel Jones can be consistently good or average, then this team can look like they could probably take the NFC East.
Yeah, this defense was feisty last year, especially given your Seahawks fit, Steve. But if they add to that, I would be excited to see what they could potentially become with some of their signings, and have a draft headline by a guy like this.
Yeah, they have great interior rushers, but nothing really on the outside. And this is a 3-4 guy who can do everything that they want every down. So
nice. All right, number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Finally, so Ozzy, you can do this for Ian and Tristan, not the 6th pick. They got this via Miami, who got it via San Francisco. Ozzy, who are the Philadelphia Eagles selecting here? I know they're your favorite team. No hard feelings here with the Eagles.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Ian and Tristan are going to be, I'm sure that they're just listening right now. They're just pounding the drum. They're like, say his name. So the Eagles would be running up to the podium to draft Kyle Pitts in this spot if he does in fact fall in this no trade draft. I think that it makes perfect sense. Get some weapons for Jalen Hurts at this point. The best offensive playmaker left on the draft board, and just see what happens, because this guy is as close to a can't miss prospect. So I think that this would be a pick that Eagles fans could rejoice in and forget about their quarterback woes for another draft.
I like it.
I'm so intrigued by Kyle Pitts as a prospect that if the Denver Broncos were to take him at 9 with no quarterback that they love on the board, I would be completely content with him and Noah Fant and Alberto. Just all three.
Disgusting.
You forgot Jake Butt.
Honestly.
And Jake Butt. Jake Butt at fullback.
Honestly, I was actually thinking that because the Giants are looking at trading back and the Lions and Panthers, I was like, if the Patriots traded up to draft Kyle Pitts, even after they signed freaking Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, would I be upset? And I was like, I don't think so. Daniel Jeremiah said that you could line him out at wide receiver and it'd be perfectly fine. Like, that's just how interesting as a prospect he is. And I think that I'm with you, Tomac. I'd be fine to see the 3-4 tight end sets that could be had.
I think this is good for the Eagles because I like Jalen Reagor, but I don't think he can be your number one necessarily. Like his size worries me a bit, and I think he's got to sharpen up his route running. And then obviously they have like Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham. So I think getting a weapon like Kyle Pitts, and whether you keep Zach Ertz or not, he can go out there and do some damage and probably be their bona fide number one weapon.
Before we move on to Jalen Reagor, I think he's about 5'10", so Tyreek Hill would be a really good comparison. When he came out of college there. So
love that. At this point, man, if I could run fast, I hope I'd be compared to Tyreek Hill too.
That's right.
All right. Unfortunately, I can't run fast at all. So we have the Los Angeles Chargers at 13. And right now, everyone's pounding the table for them to protect Justin Herbert. Thankfully, he didn't suffer a devastating injury like Joe Burrow. But I have them taking Christian Darrisaw, an offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. This I kind of see as a trade back candidate as well, just because I think taking Darrisaw here would be a bit of a reach. And they could also go receiver here. Obviously, Devonte Smith is still on the board from Alabama. But right now, their current left tackle is Trey Pipkins, a third-round pick out of 2019. And based on what I've read, he's definitely not cutting it. They have Brian Bulaga at right tackle position. So if you get Darrisaw in there, he's a reliant offensive tackle. He's athletic. He's got a good base, good hands. What's one of the things? Yeah, it just could be considered a reach because he's the third best tackle kind of in this class. I'm not sure what the drop-off is from Slater and Sewell to him. But, I mean, if you're able to collect a couple picks and take them later in the first round, that's an option too. But you just have to be wary of offensive lineman needy teams like the Colts or even the Jets potentially. So, I have the Chargers taking a tackle here. Do you guys see him taking the skill position, or would you think offensive line's a sure thing at this point?
I think that's a great pick.
Mm-hmm. I think it doesn't always have to be a sexy pick. I think a nice safe pick can be sexy in the long run, and protecting your quarterback, as we've seen with the Bengals selecting Sewell in this mock draft. I think that needs to be a priority, and why not grab one of the better tackles remaining?
Absolutely.
Just a thought though. Year of a pandemic. O-lines don't sell jerseys. O-linemen don't sell jerseys.
And the
no
Chargers
tickets are being sold. No tickets are being sold right now. You need merchandise sales. You need sexy picks this year more than ever.
Oh, I guess if you're the Chargers too, you have Herbert. But if you're the Chargers, you're like the least known team in Los Angeles. Like you have the Lakers, Dodgers, Rams. If I had to rank them, maybe the LA Kings before you put the Chargers there. Like they're really not.
Like, do the LA Chargers actually move up for Kyle Pitts to like 7?
Oh, perhaps.
Maybe. Yeah.
Devonte Smith to the Chargers confirmed.
It depends how much their owner wants to meddle, right? Like if you're just looking at this strictly from a football operations perspective, probably not worrying about that stuff. But if you have like an owner who is really hands-on, then I could definitely see the ticket selling kind of goggles coming on in this situation. But
Sure.
okay, let's look at number 14, the Minnesota Vikings. Zach, what are these Vikings going to do to get back in contention in the NFC North?
Yeah, we've got Mike Zimmer, defensive head coach, coming in here, and one of the highest ranked edge rushers still on the board, and Kwity Paye out of Michigan. So this guy's an athletic freak, raw talent, but I think it's a perfect fit because you're bringing him in. He'll be opposite of Daniel Hunter, who is absolutely amazing in his own regard. But this gives the best option for Zimmer to take a raw talent who at 6'4", 272 or whatever he is a freak athlete. He's shown the ability in college to get to the quarterback, stop the run, do everything. And that's just from using force. That's not even being able to use technique, as he wasn't, like I said, he's very raw. So I think this is perfect. I think they'll find something in him they didn't find in Ngakoue when they traded for him. So I think this is a perfect fit at 14.
I like that. That's a young defense that could use influx of high-end talent, especially at the edge rusher position. You guys see it differently? Obviously, they went Justin Jefferson last year. They're looking pretty good skill position-wise.
No, I think that's a great pick.
Awesome. All right, we got the New England Patriots at the 15th pick. Also been discussed as potentially a trade-up candidate, depending on who's still available. But in this situation, their ideal pick falls right to their lap. Tomac, do you care to elaborate?
Yeah, so this is another pick that I think just because there's no trades, he's on the board, but I think he goes a lot earlier, and that's quarterback Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. This is a kid who's only played 16 games in a smaller division. I have a lot of fear about that, but he's an interesting prospect. I mean, he's 6'3", 221. The guy can run like a gazelle. He can throw, 60 yards down the field. He appears to be able to make all the throws, deadly accurate. Through 67% completion in college, pretty darn good, if you ask me. But like I said, played in a smaller division, kind of have some fear about that. He can sit behind Cam Newton for a bit, but he's likely going to overtake him, week 8. I would predict. I don't think Cam Newton's very good. So,
no!
Yes,
Don't drop that.
That's
Get
right.
out.
I love it.
Just casually just sprinkles that in there.
I know how debated that is on this podcast.
I love
That's
it.
more polarizing than ketchup on Katie at this point, man. We might as well just ask all our interviewees of whether or not they like Cam Newton, and we can just debate that for another hour. But yeah.
He compares for me to Josh Allen, but I mean, Josh Allen was a hell of a hard worker, changed his mechanics to his throwing in the offseason, and has Bevel as an OC. Not Bevel.
Brian.
Who's the Bills OC? Brian.
Oh God.
Dubel.
Dubel.
Dable.
Anyway,
there we go.
He's an offensive genius. He's going to be a head coach next year, more than likely. But Trey Lance, he could be a special player in the NFL, but it's going to take some work.
All right, Ozzy, you got to go to a resident Patriots fan here. How would you feel about getting Trey Lance, whether it was a trade up or if he fell to you here? Like, what are your thoughts on his progression?
Honestly, with the state of this team, I would not want to trade up for a quarterback unless it's Justin Fields, because I feel like Fields is a little bit of a safer prospect for sure. And Tomac kind of alluded to that. So we're seeing how deep this class is at corner and things like that. I would definitely want to sit back and maybe go, could even go offensive line here and go interior offensive line or corner. So if we could sit back here and draft Trey Lance, I'd be fine. I'd be happy with it. But at the same time, I don't want to be, because we are one of those teams that's being thought to trade up. If we were trading up for Trey Lance, I'd say no bueno. But there's something about just staying at your spot and not giving up draft capital for such an uncertain prospect. And then I'd be like, okay, fine, we're good. We're right in the middle of the the round, so that's fine.
Ozzy wants his cake and wants to eat it too, by the sound of it.
Yeah, seriously.
I would just love if the perfect prospect just fell on our laps. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, can Fields just fall to 15, actually? Tomac, just forget about drafting him at 9, please.
Someone will just have to release a video of a gas mask with, speaking of 420, weed coming out of it, and then maybe he'll fall.
Seriously, yeah.
I may go ahead and say it. Unfortunately, he's a black quarterback, and black quarterbacks tend to fall on draft day.
Yeah, that's
true.
reality. Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it is a terrible reality.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to like they question their leadership styles and things like that, and you can tell that comes from not real analysts or analysis. That's for sure. So
exactly.
At number 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Ozzy, what are these division foes going to do? They got to lower the overall average age of this team with the acquisitions of JJ Watt and AJ Green. But, a couple areas to shore up. They lost Patrick Peterson. Larry Fitzgerald might be in limbo, so I'm not sure where he stands.
I think he officially retired, didn't he?
Yeah.
Thought it came out.
Did he? I felt like I missed out on like a lot of tributes to him and stuff, but.
Fair enough. I could be totally wrong. Anyways, to answer your question, Steve, I think that the Cardinals go corner here, and there's still a couple big prospects on there. I have them taking J.C. Horn. Some have him as cornerback 1, I believe. Others not so much. Zach included in that, as he clearly took Patrick Surtain earlier. Anyways, the loss of Patrick Peterson will be felt no more by Cardinals fans. I think that they just need to kind of get somebody to replace him. Their defense last year was, it had its moments, but then it had its moments where it was just god awful. So I think that if they can add to the secondary in some capacity early on in the draft, then I think this would definitely be the pick here. One might argue because the talent is there, they could go like a wide receiver. I've seen the wide receiver floated around for the Cardinals, oddly enough. And Devonte Smith is still on the board, but I think going secondary here is definitely the play.
I like it. I think that would be wise for them to shore up their secondary. Unfortunately for Russell Wilson, who threw 3 picks in Arizona on that Sunday night football game. And that started the spiral. Anyways, I'm going to get off on a tangent I don't want to get on. Any thoughts on the Cardinals, guys?
I think that's a smart move.
All right, cool. Let's do the Las Vegas Raiders. That is my pick at 17. I have them taking Micah Parsons, who I'll be very shocked if he falls all this way down. Parsons, sorry, my little cheat sheets here. Parsons out of Penn State has a lot of range and burst, is able to kind of get to where he needs to be on the field. Sure tackler, doesn't miss a lot of tackles. Not great in coverage. Had a couple dropped interceptions that scouts pointed out, but I think he profiles easily as a middle linebacker or will linebacker. I think currently right now, the Raiders middle linebacker is penciled in to be like that Nick Kitsawana or something like that. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he would immediately come in and make a difference on that, on that defense. Aside from that, they could also go corner as well or offensive line, but they appear to want to do or go with the cheaper route there. So I have the Raiders taking Micah Parsons.
I think that's a good pick, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
They need to shore up that defense for sure. All right, moving on
especially
to
being historic. Oh, sorry. I was muted for a bit there. I was going to say, especially with the Raiders, historically, that's the position that they've never been able to find out is linebacker. And they spent big in free agency a couple of years ago. 2 years ago now. And like they just can't seem to find somebody that can shore up that position. So to get a top guy like Micah Parsons would just be, I'm sure, just such a welcome sight by Raiders fans.
And at 17, like, damn.
Yeah, that's value right there. People always talk about value picks, and a lot of the time it's just fodder, but this time it'd be actual, like, you're getting really good value. He's projected to go like to the Lions, potentially top 10 if they were to stay. So I think that's a great pick for them. Mm-hmm. At 18, Zach, the Dolphins are back on the board because they just seem to just have a war chest of picks here. Who are they taking at 18?
Yeah, so at 6, I had them taking Jamar Chase on the offensive side of the ball. Now we're going to focus in on Brian Flores's bread and butter defense. So a lot of people seeing that Jalen Phillips is still on the board is a shocker because of a lot of people have him as the top defensive end in this draft. Looking at this, the guy is a beast. He had 29 hurries last year and 9 QB sacks. Big bodied guy, 6'4", 266, plays very, very well. But I could see him falling because of his injury history. He was actually retired and out of football for a short period of time because of concussion. So I could definitely see the scare there, especially with how the NFL is turning to be much more aware of those things, which is great. But when you look at the Dolphins here, he fits right in, brings that pass rush to an already scary defense. And, they're just taking it one step further, becoming one of the better defenses, which they were at the end, but consistently being one of the best defenses in football. So I think this is a great pick, a great fit. So, yeah.
I like that. Let's go to the Washington football team. Tomac. This is another trade up candidate here. They could be looking to get into the top 10 to get their quarterback a choice. But how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, definitely could see that. But this time last year, if we're talking about Jerry Jeudy falling to pick 15, most people would say that that's completely impossible. Well, here I have the Washington football team taking Devonte Smith, a wide receiver from Alabama. He has a smaller frame, smaller stature, and so there's some questions about it. But he's the Heisman winner. I think he's an absolutely unbelievable player. He should be a top 10 pick, if not top 5. He's just that good. But him and Scary Terry would be scary for whoever's at quarterback.
I like that. I think if there's one thing to say about this wide receiver draft class is it lacks like an X receiver. It lacks like that Julio or DK Metcalf kind of build, or Mike Evans, where like you put them on the boundary side and they're the ones going up against press and that's your best receiver. And not to say you're Z receiver, you're more versatile off the line of scrimmage receiver, can't be that guy. But I mean, you just look at these guys, 6 foot, 5'9", 5'9". I mean, 6'2" is Terrace Marshall Jr., but he's not projected to go until the second or third round. So I think these guys can be number 1 receivers, but there's not like that big physical presence. So the offensive coordinators are going to have to be more creative in kind of what these guys can do. And especially with a guy with a slimmer build like Smith, you don't want sending him into middle of traffic with linebackers waiting for him. Wouldn't bode well for the longevity of his career.
I forget off the top of my head, who is it? Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator for the Washington football team. Whoever it is, I feel like they could have a heyday with Devonte Smith, Curtis Samuel, and Scary Terry. That would just be such an interesting skill position. And you were talking earlier, I believe it was you, Tomac, getting the piece. Oh yeah, that's right. With the Lions pick, getting the pieces in place for your quarterback of the future. This would be a perfect example of doing exactly that. They've got already a pretty solid offensive line. They've got what looks to be a running back solved. And then now just really shoring up the offensive skill positions. That would be insane. I love it.
That defense is already coming together quite nicely. And that D lines with Chase Young's already looking like one of the best units in the league.
Dangerous.
Oh yeah. All right. We got the 20th overall pick. Ozzy, you better do right by Mr. Bill Foth, his favorite team. They missed out on Russell Wilson. So again, we mentioned earlier, another trade up candidate, but the pressure's on you. Bill Foth, he's sitting on his couch. Zach's with him. The Bears are on the clock. Don't let Bill down.
Yeah, I think I'm going to let Bill down. This isn't a sexy pick by any stretch. It's not a sexy pick, but I'm going Elijah Vera Tucker here. He's an interior offensive lineman, but he actually kicked out to tackle. So he played I said interior offensive lineman. I don't think he played center, but he played guard and he played it very well. And then last year he switched to tackle and really excelled at that. He had over an 80 PFF grade. So I think that this would be a really solid pick for the Bears. It's not sexy. It's no quarterback, but you got Andy Dalton.
You got him.
Yeah, you got him.
That's a warm body. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you just got to protect him. And I think that if you can get a guy who if you can protect the Red Rocket, Steve, I see you chuckling over there. I can
protect that $10 million investment. That's the most important thing.
That's not where I was going with it, but if you can give him time in the pocket is what I was more so implying, then give him time to find Allen Robinson. If Anthony Miller's on the roster come this fall, give him time to throw downfield to him. I think that just getting a piece like this would open up the offense in ways that doesn't look like it on paper, but it would open holes for guys like Zach's guy, David Montgomery, who struggled with James Daniel out of the roster. So there's options that are opened up in the offense when you get solid offensive linemen. And I think that this is one of those picks.
It's not sexy, Ozzy, but I think it's necessary. I mean, I think they're still paying, Jermaine Ifedi, a fan favorite over here on this podcast. So probably best they address that. Zach, would Bill see it otherwise, or is he a fan of the not sexy picks?
No, I think when I think of my dad's football demeanor, he loves the big burly guys down in the trenches. He's always wanted the toughness that comes with it and such. So you know what? It might not be the sexiest pick to the majority, but my dad would be like, as long as he gets down there and punishes someone.
Bill strikes me as a trenches guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Dad would line up as a short edge rusher like Cliff Averill and just get to the passer.
I love it.
Put him down, or middle linebacker style Brian Urlacher.
We'll get a flag football game going, and we'll make sure you guys are on opposite teams.
Tackles me. Thanks, Dad.
All right. We got the Indianapolis Colts at 21. A couple different needs here, but obviously went and traded for Carson Wentz. I'm still imagining Zach's dad tackling him, so I'm sorry. That's so yeah, they got Carson Wentz, and you have Anthony Costanza, who is retired. So I think they go Tevin Jenkins tackle here, and his comparison is Joe Tooney, which is kind of funny because he's a guard. And the one knock against Jenkins is he's nasty as all hell. Good thing, like finishes his blocks, can absolutely maul players, but lacks the ideal size and arm length that you want in a tackle to kind of get out and protect the edge. So he is someone who could slide inside if need be. But I mean, if you're taking him to be your left tackle, then it's kind of a risky investment at that point. But I think it's something that has to be done because I'm not even sure who's penciled in there right now. If you weren't to draft a tackle, obviously if a guy like Darisaw is on the board, they'd probably take him before they take Jenkins. But in this draft, Darisaw went 13th to the Chargers. So guys, with the Colts, it always seems like we've been talking about it for like the last 2 or 3 years of just how good the surrounding roster is and how they're just a quarterback away. And it wasn't Jacoby Brissett and it wasn't Phillip Rivers. But, is Jenkins the missing piece, or do you think they got to go with skill position here? I mean, they got Michael Pittman last year. T.Y. Hilton's back. What's missing for this team to get over that hump?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure what's missing, but for me, I think the pick is Greg Newsom, the corner. I think he's extremely athletic, tall, lengthy, like they like him. So I'm kind of leaning towards that being the pick personally. That secondary could definitely still use work, but I don't necessarily what gets them over the hump. Maybe it is Carson Wentz.
Maybe it's Carson Wentz. He's number 2, which is weird. Ozzy, go ahead.
I was leaning more on the side of Tomac there, addressing the secondary. I think that if they can, the defense is good, and we saw through the first 6 to 8 weeks last year that they were one of the best statistically speaking. I think that there is a lot to be desired when you started facing those. Oh, am I cutting?
No, you're good. You froze for a bit, but you're good.
Okay, nice. I think that they're. As you start to see like the teams like the Chiefs, et cetera, and the Bills, where they can really light up a defense, if you can address the back end, I would like to see them take Trayvon Moehrig here. If I said his, yep. And potentially shore up the back end there. But I definitely don't think that protecting a guy like Wentz, who's battled injuries in his day, I don't think that that's ever a bad thing, especially addressing tackle where, like you had said, Steve, Anthony Costanzo is now retired. So kind of need to address depth, and lucky for them, they've got a GM in Chris Ballard who seems to hit on picks an uncanny amount compared to other GMs.
Absolutely. We stay in the AFC South with the 22nd overall pick to Zach. This team, another team that, went on that miracle run to the AFC Championship game a few years ago and then fell flat on their face last year to the Ravens in the wild card game. Where do they go here to address their team?
I feel like I have one of the easiest picks here with the Titans. These guys have a glaring need, and I want to give you guys a stat about the guy I picked here. So I picked Gregory Roseau out of Miami. He didn't play due to COVID last year. He opted out, which honestly, when I tell you guys this stat, I think it was a great, great time for him to not play because he played so well in his 2019 season. The guy in his college season, the 2019 college season, had 16 sacks, which is just unbelievable at the college level with 24 hurries. He's massive. He's 6'6", 265. And just a beast. I think if he would have played this year and showed that kind of consistency, he would have been a top 5, top 10 pick, as he is so athletic and shows all ability here. And I think the Titans really fix or help fix that pass rush with drafting him here at 22. I think it's a steal, really. Yeah,
we saw Clowney and Vic Beasley not pan out, and I think instead of trying to go bargain bin shopping, you go and address it in the draft. And not to say Clowney's a bargain bin. I mean, the Browns just signed him, and maybe he'll thrive being opposite of Garrett. But obviously, it just wasn't set up to succeed in Tennessee, and Vic Beasley obviously wasn't either. So I love this pick, and I know he was even mocked to maybe the Patriots. Was that in your article, Tomac? But that was maybe before quarterback.
Yeah. And I think this is an outstanding pick by Zach there, and he hit all the points on the head. Like, this guy is just an absolute freak of an athlete.
Love it. So let's stay with you, Tomac. We got the Jets at 23 via the Seahawks, the Jamal Adams trade. Where are they going here? They've got their quarterback of the future now, and they have another pick here in the first round to continue adding to their team.
Yeah, so I'd like to see them go tackle and simply protect that number 2 overall pick, Zack Wilson. But the fall from tackles on the board is just too deep now. And they're lacking that deep threat receiver. I mean, Zack Wilson's just going to be slinging it down the field to Denzel Mims. So let's get him a burner on the other side. And that's Rondale Moore. He can play special teams as well. Long term, he can be that slot guy. That Jamison Crowder's in that spot right now, but he's just extremely athletic, and I'm excited. He might be Tyreek Hill, like you could say.
Oh, love it. I think at this point, so if someone like Darrisaw or Jenkins were still on the board, you'd see them going there first before addressing their skill positions.
I would hope so, but it is the New York Jets. You never know.
New leadership now. True. With Saleh, but we'll see. I'm optimistic on that. Any differing thoughts, Ozzy? Division foe, do you see it happening any differently, or are you a little nervous now with a competent regime on paper anyways in place there?
With the Jets, I think, like, when the Bills started turning it around, it's like, okay, I'll take them seriously. Dolphins, it's like, oh wow, they got some pieces. Now with the Jets, it's kind of like a wait and see. I'm not going to get scared until further notice. I think I'd prefer them address wide receiver here, because I don't think that they're at that stage where they can necessarily be drafting wide receivers. I think that they need to establish some physicality in the trenches. But I
like that.
I've drafted, I think, 2 offensive linemen in my or I've spoke about drafting offensive linemen a couple of times in this mock draft episode. So maybe I'm just a trenches guy like Bill Falk.
There we go.
So, I just think they're better off either moving back into the first round for that 5th year option at 34, or taking an offensive lineman at 34, simply just because the fall off to wide receiver talent compared to tackle talent, what's on the board currently, was the biggest thing.
That's fair.
Nice. All right, Aussie at 24, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers got embarrassed in the wild card round to Zach's Cleveland Browns. Ben Roethlisberger is back and better than ever. Probably not.
Oh God.
So how are they going to address this team to continue trying to be above average as they've been for the last couple of years?
Yeah, this one is kind of I'm maybe cheating a little bit, but I saw a report that they're targeting running back early on, and I've seen that this seems like a really good fit. Najee Harris, RB1, coming off the board to the Steelers. We saw last year their offense disappeared at times, and I think a large part of that was there was a zero run game. There was no threat of that at all, really. And so if you can get the best running back in the draft late in the first round, this is a team that doesn't really need to retool. They just need to, or not to rebuild. They just need to retool and get some guys in some spots. And running back was a place that they had there's a non-factor basically. So Najee Harris is, I think, just a home run hit for the Steelers.
This pick, I know running backs don't matter, but this pick excites me. He just plays the part of everything a Steeler. I can just already see that Steeler jersey on him, and I love it. I love it.
Now they just have to run the ball. I mean, James Conner was a capable running back, but he found himself in Arizona, and they had Ben Roethlisberger dropping back 45 to 50 times a game, which is not what you want out of your 39-year-old quarterback. And I was going to say, unless you're Tom Brady, but I'm not even sure Tom's throwing 50 passes anymore. So yeah, you just don't want that. I love that pick as well. And I'm sure Zach isn't a fan because that would mean a little more of a tough challenge if you're the Cleveland Browns.
No, let him take a running back. I love it.
All right, we had 25. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars back on the clock, courtesy of the LA Rams. I believe that was the Jalen Ramsey trade. I have them taking Trayvon Moehrig, safety out of. I don't have it here. What's that?
TCU, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, TC. I think they're going to add to the CJ Henderson and Shaquille Griffin kind of corner duo they have there. And now they can have that free safety that kind of encompasses it all together. Again, like I've said on previous episodes, I'm not too sure what kind of defense they're going to be running, but Moehrig can kind of do it all. He's a good, sure tackler. They have kind of a crowded safety room. They brought back Josh Jones, Rudy Ford, and they signed Rayshon Jenkins, but they also ranked 27th in pass TDs given up last year. So, I mean, bring in the more the merrier and have the competition sorted out. But I think this, you get your franchise quarterback with the first overall pick. And then with this one, you go address the defense and start trying to put together a competent program. And we'll see how successful Urban Meyer is at doing that. Do you guys see them sticking with offense at all? Or do you think it's wise for them to address the back end of that defense as well?
They're in kind of an awkward spot as well. I think you could make the argument for a skill position here. I'm not sure if Travis Etienne would be a good pick, because who was their running back? It was Robinson, right?
Yeah, James Robinson.
He kind of fell off in the middle of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like skill position would definitely be an option for them at this point, but I don't hate them going defense because that defense was horrendous.
Absolutely. All right. So then at 26, we have the Cleveland Browns, and it just so happens Zach lined up on his favorite team. So Zach, how is your Brownies addressing this team to potentially make it over the hump to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, this is exciting for me. I feel with the pick, it lined up perfectly for me, and it lined up perfectly here in the draft that we're doing. A defensive tackle hasn't come off the board yet, which leaves the best one available. And that's Christian Barmore out of Alabama. So recently, many of our listeners probably heard Sheldon Richardson was released by the Browns, saving us $12 million in cap space. But we also lost Larry Ogunjobi. Both players very good at pressuring up the middle in the passing game, which is very important when you have great players on the edge now with Clowney and Myles Garrett. This gives us a guy who his comparison on what was it? Gerald McCoy. Sorry, I had it over here. Gerald McCoy's his comparison, which is beautiful. I think he's going to come in. He's not the best against the run right off the bat. However, we have Andrew Billings, who sat out last year because of COVID, who will come in, eat up the middle. But him and Malik Jackson can really push the middle and just let the edge rushers eat. I think this is perfect. We get a young player who is going to come in and develop even more and be another addition to an outstanding defensive line. So I'm excited about this. I hope he falls to us here and we get a guy who can rush up the middle and really push that 6'5", 310 frame around in the middle of the offense there. So it'll be exciting.
I'm sure
that man's a beast. I'd be very excited if I was you for that pick.
I'm sure Colin will find a way to make this anti-Baker, even if they do pick a D tackle here.
They don't trust Baker. They're trying to build the defense.
They're trying to surround their quarterback with a good team. They don't trust him.
The more you say it, the more it sounds bad. Like,
if they liked it, they would have got him a new weapon.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. At 27, we have another AFC North foe, the Baltimore Ravens. Tomac, a couple different directions. Obviously, the receiver fall off has begun now with the top 4, I believe, off the board. Do they get Lamar Jackson some more help, or how are they addressing their needs here?
So with Orlando Brown currently on the trade block, requesting trade because he wants to play left tackle, but they have long-term commitments to Ronnie Stanley playing left tackle. If they can't get that sorted out, I would see them taking Alex Leatherwood, the tackle out of Alabama. He's a day 1 right tackle starter. I don't think he would become a left tackle. He's just not good enough in the pass blocking game. But if there isn't a trade by draft night, I'd see them taking Carlos Basham, an edge rusher, very versatile. It's the kind of edge rusher that just fits into that system very well.
I love it. I hope they address the receiver position, but perhaps I'll wait for that when it's more kind of right to do that in the 2nd or 3rd round.
And they just signed Sammy Watkins too. I kind of think they're hoping his prove-it contract will push him to be a number 1.
I hope did they bring back Des Bryant, or is that done now, that experiment?
I'm pretty sure he's back as well.
That's good.
As well as Brown too. So
I'm rooting for him. All right. We have the Saints at, I lost my train of spot here. 28. Thank you. Ozzy, how are the Saints addressing their needs here? Obviously, before this 49ers trade all took place, many had them taking Mac Jones if he fell all the way down to this point. That doesn't appear possible anymore. So what is this team going to do in life post Breeze?
Yeah, I've seen Kyle Trask mocked here, or heard him being taken here. I think that's way too early, and just because I haven't done my homework on Kyle Trask, but I've only seen it in like 1 mock. So
he's based on what I've heard, he has, for his build, you'd think he have a stronger arm, but I guess his arm just isn't what you think it would be for a guy that of his stature. So that's not promising.
Yeah, in the college playoff, he looked awful, like absolutely awful. I think he turned the ball over 5 times.
Well, that's what you want.
I don't think now is the time to panic at quarterback. You've got Taysom Hill, who you have lots of money tied up with. You've got Jameis Winston, who can at least get it done. He's an explosive player to hold the position, whether he turns the ball over a lot or not. So I have them going defense here. I've got them taking Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech. Unfortunate, he sat out this past year, but his jump from his, his sophomore to junior season, would that be, or no, freshman to sophomore season was incredible. Had an 86.9 PFF grade. He's not much of a man corner. He's more of a zone guy, but I think if you get him on the opposite side of Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints have their cornerback tandem for years to come. They're getting a little bit older there. Patrick Robinson, I believe, is one of the guys that was there. He's getting up there. And Janoris Jenkins, I don't think is there anymore either. So got to get some help in the back end. And I think Caleb Farley, he showed enough in 2019 to get it done for the Saints.
I like it. No complaints there. Anyone else? Moving on. All right. We got the Packers at 29. And now here, guys, I'm going to take a little time to just pat myself on the back. Last year, I mocked Jordan Love to the Packers. and I had no idea that would actually happen, but
very good.
they did it. And honestly, I don't think that was the wisest move, but I'm taking a stab. This is kind of more of a consensus pick, but Elijah Moore, I think what the Packers lack right now is a more of a gadget kind of weapon and someone they can plug into the slot. And I know they were kind of players for Will Fuller, who doesn't really fit that model, but in this case right now, they have Adams, who's like their Z receiver who can also profile in the slot. And then they also have Valdez Scantling, who stands at 6'4", and Adam Lazard, who stands at 6'5". So they're really lacking that guy that you can run jet sweeps with, or kind of use in more creative ways, or place in the return game as well. And so you have a guy like Elijah Moore, who's 5'9", out of Mississippi, comparisons to Antonio Brown. So,
Tyreek Hill, I heard.
What's that? And Tyreek Hill, yeah. Because every fast receiver is Tyreek Hill. And he disguises his routes really well. All his routes look the same until he breaks them off, which is great for confusing defensive backs. Limited catching radius, just with his height and everything. He can't really, go up and get the ball, but he has Aaron Rodgers throwing it to him. So, I mean, it'll probably be placed right where it needs to be. So who knows what the Packers will do? Their draft last year is quite unexpected, but I think if they're smart here and they want to get over this NFC championship hump they've been stuck in with Rodgers, who's 1-4 in those games now, they're going to go and get themselves a gadget player like Elijah Moore. I know Kevin King struggled, so I have Eric Stokes as kind of like a backup plan there for them. But again, I think trying to just get this offense to be all that it can be is probably their best path forward to a Super Bowl appearance, and if not, victory. Anyone see it differently?
Man, no, I think it's time to address this secondary position, the guy behind Devonte Adams. It just can't be him getting the ball 20 times in a must-win game. It's fun to watch, but at the same time, it can't be very fun for Aaron Rodgers to have to rely on that. If that gets shut down, you're done.
Yeah, I was just going to build off that. Ozzy hit it right on the head there.
All right. Moving on to number 30, the Buffalo Bills. Zach, the Bills had a promising run that was then ended in the AFC Championship game at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. How are they going to get this team to kind of push over their expectations?
Yeah, a lot of mocks have them going edge here, but looking where we're at, I've personally taken a lot of edges off the board. So we're actually going to go with a player that Tomac alluded to earlier, who has surprisingly fallen to 30th with Greg Newsom. Greg Newsom played for Northwestern, 6'1", 190. Everything points to him becoming a very good corner in the NFL. Athleticism, his abilities. He is able to stay on wide receivers on any type of route. The thing about him is he's technical. I've heard problems with if you have a Tyreek Hill style breakaway speed, if they're in stride, he might struggle a little bit, but at the same token, he's very technical, so he'll be able to stop that.
That's bad news, Zach, if all these Tyreek Hill type players are coming out of the draft this year. Though, right? I know. Like all of them are the next Tyreek Hill.
But here's the thing. I think for the Bills, this gives you a guy opposite Tre'Davious White. I can't say it. You can correct me. Out there. And I think that just is so terrifying when you see what the Bills have become and you're just making that secondary even stronger here. It's building on a strength, and that, that's terrifying. At 30th, being able to get a player of that caliber, it's just a no-brainer.
I like it. That's a smart move for them. Let's move on unless anyone has any objections. No, we're good. Number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl runner-ups. Tomac, how is this team going to get back to the big game and save themselves the embarrassment to the GOAT again if they were to make it back?
I think the GOAT just gonna beat him over again.
Oh.
But I think they had a corner, Asante Samuel Jr. His father played for Mr. Reed with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that Reed just does the father's son a favor and takes him in the first round, gets him a little extra cash in his pocket, and corner is a need. So
I like it. And it definitely is. And we thought maybe offensive line, but then they went and just spent a bunch of money there. And so now those positions look
Tooney,
quite,
like what? Come on,
I have
man.
no
Like,
idea.
yeah.
No idea how they got the
come
money
on.
for Tooney.
And didn't they
Still
sign
pissed.
Long too?
Kyle Long.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
they
the
did?
guards are the guards are
Oh, I
completely
didn't
set, but
Yeah.
they definitely could use a tackle as well. So I have Liam Eichenberg as the second pick, as well as Landon Dickinson as my kind of third option as a center. Holmes with Landon Dickinson could be a long-term center for the team there. But unfortunately, Dickerson is a left-handed snapper, so the ball will spin a little differently to our quarterback.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
there's a little hesitation in the draft community there. So
That's amazing. It's just like, oh my God, I can't take a snap from a lefty. That's wild. I'd have to do more research into that. I had no idea. Okay, and then at number 32, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champions, and it just happens perfectly that it ends up on Ozzy's list. Ozzy, how is this Buccaneers team going to get even better?
Yeah, well, I have them going running back here, but I could see them going offensive tackle just to get some depth. I think I'd like Samuel Cosmi in the spot, but for a little bit of flash for the Buccaneers, I know they've got playoff Lenny or Super Bowl Lenny, and they've got Ronald Jones, but I'm not like in love with any of those guys. And yes, they just signed 35-year-old Giovanni Bernard. No, I know he's not that old, but really, I'm not getting really juiced up about him either. So I got them going Travis Etienne from Clemson. I don't really know. I think that this is just one of those picks where, like we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire go 32nd overall to the Chiefs last year. I think it's just one of those picks where it's just like, this is probably the weakest spot on our offense. Let's shore it up with the running back, and there we go.
I like it. Any potential here, and this is an open question for everyone, that they potentially go Davis Mills or Kellen Mond to kind of build for the future? I mean, no one wants to really think about life after Brady. They're enjoying this Super Bowl run. They're returning all 22 starters. They're running it back. But the reality is they have Ryan Griffin and maybe Blaine Gabbert coming back. Griffin was just extended today. Gabbert not yet. At some point, they're going to have to start thinking about life after Brady. And if he retires after another deep playoff run, they're not really in a position to go and select the pick of the litter, so to speak, in one of the higher rounds, unless they trade future picks. Is it worth taking a flyer on one of these guys, or do neither of them, even after a couple of years learning behind Tom, would be able to make that transition to be the heir to the GOAT?
I just don't think it's a productive way to use the first round pick. In my opinion, I just don't think that the prospects are talented enough for the 32nd pick.
Yeah, I would agree with Tomac. I think that if you can get a guy who's going to make an impact to an already really strong roster, and it's not just a depth pick. I think then as a team that just re-signed all of its starters and you're in that position, I think that this is a time to make another impactful pickup for your roster.
Yeah. Like if Mac Jones was on the board though, like I'd be all for that. Like Mac Jones just sitting behind Brady and figuring out the mental side of the game. I'd be all for that.
But Davis Mills and Kellen Mond don't inspire that sort of confidence in you.
It's not a reaching round. Yeah.
Well, the way I see it too is I think Michael Lombardi said it.
In the second, I'll get behind that.
Yeah. I think Michael Lombardi said it best, is like when you take a quarterback in the first round, he's talking about Jordan Love and the Packers. It's a depreciating asset, right? So when you take him and you go to trade him, like you're not going to get back the capital you use. Like they used a first on Jordan Love. You're not getting a first back for Jordan Love in most circumstances. So if you go take a first and he sits behind Brady and it turns out not to be the guy, and maybe you go try to trade him, you're not going to get that back. So I'm in agreement with you guys. I just think I've seen a couple mocks, or I think I saw Davis Mills go there, and
like I love Davis Mills.
Yeah, just not there.
I absolutely love him, but yeah, just not there. In the second, all for it.
All right, so that was 32 guys. Before we wrap up, there's 3 teams without a first round pick. My Seahawks, they hold the 56th pick as their first time they'll be selecting in the second round. I've seen a couple mocks with Ifitu Melifanu, but I've also seen him mocked as high as the first round. He's a cornerback. that could fill in nicely for Seattle. Brady Christensen, Seahawks have to start preparing for life after Dwayne Brown, so that's another pick I could see them making. And then Creed Humphrey, the Seahawks center position still kind of in flux with Posick on a 1-year deal, and their backup being, oh my God, I totally blanking out. So
Creed Humphrey is the left-handed snapper, not Landon Dickerson.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, Creed Humphrey. Well, maybe Russell Wilson will be getting the weirdly spun balls. We have the Rams at 57. If Alex Leatherwood's still on the board, again, he could be potentially being talked about in the first round. But they need help at the guard and center positions. Creed Humphrey's another option there. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really kind of liked reading up on him as
I really like him.
Yeah, 5'11", got compared to Keelan Cole. Not a lot of quickness, but can definitely a solid route runner in that respect. And he adjusts to scrambling quarterbacks. That's why I'd almost maybe like Seahawks taking a look at him if possible. And then the Texans don't pick till the 3rd round. They're at pick 67. Again, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown if he's there. And then also Joseph Osai, an edge rusher who can kind of play in that. I think they're transitioning from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So he can fill in there. So any thoughts on the Seahawks, Rams, Texans, guys, before we wrap up? I know we're probably pushing an hour and a half here.
I think you hit it right on the.
All right.
Tomac,
you said you liked hit the nail on the head. You said you liked Amon-Ra St. Brown. Do you have any additional thoughts on him, or just do you like him as a prospect?
No, I've just watched a lot of USC tape because I've been watching that Vera Tucker.
Nice.
From them, and I've just noticed them quite a bit, and I watched them quite a bit last year, actually.
Love it. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into our 2021 mock draft episode. The NFL draft, I believe, is on the 29th, if I got my dates correct.
Yes, you do.
Yes, the Thursday, the 29th. So we want to kind of build in an extra week here instead of doing it on next week, Tuesday, releasing the episode Wednesday and having the draft Thursday. You guys now have a week to digest this and come back at us with your hot takes or tell us how wrong or right we are, preferably right. Tomac, thank you again, man. This has become one of my favorite traditions, and I'm sure that Zach and Oz will say the same, of you hopping on the podcast and talking draft. You have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to these prospects, and your guest articles are always appreciated on our website. So you can also find his work on our website, guys. Where can everyone find you on social media if you want people following you? I never asked.
It's good. It's good. Yeah,
all right, it's good.
I don't talk football all that much on my social media, so
that's fair.
Just follow the amateur agency. They produce a ton of great content. It's worth your time.
All right. Well, you can find Tomac's work on our website. Head over to our NFL blog section, and you'll find his previous articles and hopefully some new ones to come. No pressure, Tomac, but we need that one by next week. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Zach, where can the fine folks find you? Looks like you moved to a standing desk. Is that a flex? Or you just
it's not a flex, but for comfort wise, hey, it was a long pod, like you said. It was pushing an hour and a half. I had to stand up. You guys can find me on Instagram at ZachFoth _ and on Twitter at ZachFoth.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. And thanks for coming on, Tomac.
Hey, good seeing you, bro.
Always a pleasure.
Ozzy, where can the fine folks find you? Looks like now you're standing up.
Yeah, I had to do it. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AustinPaul _ that's awesome with a Y, not an I.
Not an I.
And you'll find my
God damn it, people, not an I.
Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter at SteveBolin22. Find me on Instagram at SteveBolin _ Of course, follow all the agency accounts first and foremost. We appreciate your guys' feedback, no matter how positive or negative it may be. Stay tuned for draft content. We'll maybe set up another Instagram live to chat draft. And good night and Godspeed, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you for episode 109 next week.